Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Silicon Insider podcast. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good, Mike. Hey.
You had a little bit of breaking news today. Let's go over that one real quick. Mark Benioff at Salesforce made an announcement about the efficiency of Salesforce's AI operations in terms of customer relations.
Yeah, we knew that Salesforce and Benioff were really into AI, as many large tech companies, especially software companies, are. But he says somewhere between 30 and 50% of Salesforce's workload is now being handled by AI, which made a lot of people nervous. On the one hand, hey, I guess this is good for its bottom line, but what about those trying to get a job? Is there even going to be a workforce in the near future if half of a giant company that, by the way, is one of San Francisco's largest employers being handled by these bots?
Yeah, and I thought just as worrying was his comment that the AI program was working at 90% efficiency. And I thought, have I ever worked on a job at 90% efficiency?
Right. The first thought is, oh, the bots are only 90%. And then the second thought is, what about us? Are
Yeah.
we even there? Yeah.
Well, we'll follow that story in the future. Okay, the stock market today had another great day. I mean, the stock rally left the S&P 500 and Nasdaq really close to getting back to record highs, breaking its records. Um, Nasdaq moved up more than 1%. The S&P 500 gained 0.8%, and the Dow Jones jumped 400 points to zero point 0.9 up, not 0.9%. Yesterday, Nvidia went crazy and went up 4%. 4% of value on a $3 trillion company is more than most of the companies in the world. Uh, that's an extraordinary thing. And Nvidia keeps looking good because it hit a record high not only yesterday, but it kept going a little bit today. It still had the mojo. It's quite impressive. A woman at Loop Capital raised, a gentleman at Loop Capital raised his price target on Nvidia shares to $250 per share. That's the highest prediction on Wall Street. If that came true, uh, that chip makers and capitalization would reach $6 trillion. I'm not exactly buying it, but you know, I have to say, I haven't been very good at predicting predicting how high Nvidia could go. I don't think there's a ceiling on this company right now. And we got that same analyst saying, quote, we are entering the next golden wave of Gen AI adoption, and Nvidia is at the front end of another material leg of stronger than anticipated demand. And that demand's going to come, the phrase is hyperscalers, the government and big tech companies buying millions of chips for giant server farms and everything else. That's quite a prediction.
Right. I mean, everyone seems to want to get into AI right now, whether you're an AI based company or you're a company like Salesforce seeking to become an AI based company. And you look at the earning reports, people are stumbling over themselves to talk about how their company is growing in the AI space. You look at some of the deals happening, not only for individual workers, but for companies to be bought out. These AI valuations are crazy. I mean, we haven't seen this in a while, and it screams bubble. But at the same time, apparently, we haven't reached the blow up phase yet of that bubble because the money keeps flowing into these
Yeah,
companies.
this is like one of those weather balloons that looks, flaccid, and all of a sudden it turns into a huge sphere because it's the pressure around it so low. Um, Interestingly, Nvidia is not the fastest growing stock this year in AI or in electronics. It's Micron, which is interesting because Micron, is essentially make memory chips. They bought Intel's business long ago and memory, and now they're making memory chips for Nvidia. and they were the top performing chip maker on Wall Street so far this year. And it came in with another stronger than expected prediction for the next quarter, but the market didn't think it was large enough. And it actually had a real tepid response. So maybe there is a ceiling on memory chips for AI if there isn't one for AI itself. But I thought that was really interesting that you got this company. Maybe it's another case of you have to be perfect if you're number one. And
Right. And
they,
you just have to be perfect if you're going to get that AI valuation. You can't have any slip ups. And again, the valuations are so out of whack right now, I think. And that's because of Nvidia and what they've been able to do. Nobody else is cranking like they are. And so it can help and float a lot of boats, but it can also set a ceiling that's almost too high for any of these companies, even those that are doing well, to reach.
yeah, one brokerage house said, "Well, the gains are impressive. It's still roughly parallel to our prior expectations." So if you're the you're the top chip company in the world for the first half of this year, if you're just doing as well as you did already, that's not enough. So interesting. Okay, next up we have an interesting investment. I'd move this up to the front because it's showing that the VCs are still putting money into companies, especially ones that they personally like. And this is a company called Whisper Pro, and it just landed a $30 million A round from one of the VC firms, Menlo Ventures. Do you know what do you know what it does?
I do
It's
not.
a
Let's look it up.
dictation, it's the dictation AI, but it's so powerful that you only have to move your lips. I mean, it does it says whisper in its name, but it goes beyond whisper. You can sit and just talk silently at this thing, and it'll keep up faster than you can type words or even say them. $30 million A round. Uh, That's pretty impressive. That means I get some of the VCs are already testing it, and apparently they love it. That doesn't sound like an A round to me. It sounds like a later round, but still, that's a heck of a thing. Things are still moving around here, and we're still producing interesting new products. Okay, Tesla, Elon. Elon just fired Omid Afshar, the automaker's president of manufacturing and operations, which sounds like almost a COO job. Meanwhile, they've lost their director of, I think she was HR, and they've also lost a person last week. I mean, there's kind of a bloodletting going on, which I guess, you know, is appropriate given that Tesla's sales are down like almost 20% so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, they've had year over year declines in car sales now for many of Tesla's big markets. That doesn't speak well for the bread and butter of this company. It's interesting that the dollar figures are down, the sales are down, the stock price has stayed very high. It's still $1 trillion company. So there's expectations on, I guess, Optimus robots or maybe robo taxis, which we don't know to be revenue generating yet, really.
Right.
And yet the core business has struggled because of competition, because clearly Elon Musk took his eye off the ball, also brand degradation. So all these things that are hurting its bottom line, and yet investors are still there for the company.
So you think he came back from DC and Doge and looked around and said, "This operation has some, real problems, and we're going to sweep out the dead wood."
Hard to say. He could have said that. He also could have realized the problem was himself because
Yeah.
he spent so much time with Doge. And instead of saying, whoops, I messed up, my bad, I really have to start following this, he's finding some scapegoats. So who knows?
So instead of blaming himself, he decided to scapegoat everybody he left behind in charge. Is that what you think he did?
It very well could be, because there could be, and there are several factors to Tesla's sales slowing. I mean, the good news is there are many more EVs out there, and that's great. The bad news is, if you're a Tesla fan or shareholder, is that a lot of the brand damage was done by the guy in charge. And, you saw protests outside Tesla dealerships. We haven't seen that before, even by Democrats and lefties who used to be his fans and want to clean the environment. And they're like, Tesla's a bad brand. I don't want to be anywhere near this. The Sheryl Crow of it all, selling her Tesla and watching on social media as it drove away on the back of a tow truck. This is just very bad for a brand. That was all Elon Musk. And it's not like everybody realized, oh, these cars no longer work. It was just his branding, and so there's some responsibility right there as well.
Okay, President Trump is still keeping up this drumbeat on Jerome Powell either drops the interest rate or something, he's going to fire him. And in the meantime, he appears to have taken a weird turn on this. Well, he does. He takes weird turns, but the potential of him appointing a essentially a shadow chair uh, to the um, to the board of the Federal Reserve. This person would be there to counter what Jerome Powell's doing, argue for the White House, whatever. But it's creating a lot of tension out there that Trump isn't going to wait until the end of the year to get rid of Powell. He's going to, in theory, create a way to overcome Powell's moves by inserting somebody as a shadow chair. And it's creating chaos on Wall Street, but it's also creating chaos on the dollar that the world doesn't seem to understand what's going on, as do we. We're in the same boat, but the dollar has just dropped to its lowest point in 3 years, hitting a fresh record low because people aren't going into the dollar. It's beginning to damage the currency around the world. What are your thoughts on that?
I think we talked about Tesla brand being damaged by one
Yeah.
individual. We have the American brand being damaged, especially financially, by one individual, and that's the president. And whether you like him or not, there's no doubt that people are less confident in their investments in America. The tariff back and forth, we don't know. And by we, I mean the entire world doesn't know
Yeah.
if things are going to cost more or less. And so this back and forth uh, is really costing America in terms of the confidence people have in us and our investments and therefore our dollar. And so it really is brand degradation, both for Tesla and I think for the American financial confidence. And we are and have been the place to invest safely and confidently. And people are moving away from that. And that hurts.
It's interesting that the dollar would be falling at a time when, after last weekend and the events in the Middle East, you would think there would be a new uh, faith in the power of the United States to act and become once again become a serious actor on the world stage. And yet the dollar fell, which is counterintuitive and kind of scary.
But again, we're just getting mixed messages on every front, whether it's the military front or the financial front, the tariff front. And we've talked for a long time about how the one thing the financial markets really, really don't like is uncertainty.
Yeah.
And that is coming out of America on several levels.
We're in limbo everywhere, it seems. Well, let's hope we hear some final decisions on various things so we can move ahead. Okay, finally, and I bring this up because it kind of has to do with me, and that's in the first of its kind decision, uh, an AI company, uh, Anthropic, which most people know, just won a copyright infringement lawsuit brought by American authors. It just happened. And when I read that, I thought, oh, so that means they can just loot all of our books and everything else for content and for every other thing to just pour into their huge AI instruction sets. But it turns out that's half of the case. The other half will be adjudicated this December, and that's Anthropic's also being sued for piracy, where, yeah, okay, the judge said for the sake of moving forward in technology and innovation and creativity, uh, these AI companies have to be able to draw on these sources, these books, the combined memory of mankind, and that's okay. But when they start lifting segments of those books, pieces, uh, of writing or anything else, without paying the publisher or the author, that's piracy. So we know that it's okay to draw from these books, just like if you're writing a report and you open up a book and you take the information out of that. That's okay. So we that's off the table now for the world, which is allow things to move forward. But you're going to have to pay, and apparently it's up to $180,000 or something for every act of piracy. And Anthropic has actually lifted like billions of items. So it's an impossibly large number. So that's all going to have to get settled out. But we now have one precedent in the publishing business. It'll be interesting to see how that changes my life, at least, and a lot of people I know. So
Yeah, I mean, shades of YouTube, when they were putting everything online, everybody was suing them, and we sort of had to come to some sort of an agreement on what it was. I think with AI, it's going to be similar because it's sucking up everything. The smart companies, Reddit stands out to me for making a deal right away and saying,
yep.
we're going to get cash for this stuff. Some of the publications have already done that. I think we'll see more deals, but I think we'll also see more lawsuits.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it'll probably come down to legislation at some point because this is so large and so sweeping. Okay, well, that's it for the week. Uh, you guys know where to find us. Scott's got to get back on set, and I'll say goodbye for the week and take care.